Hi, I'm Commissioner Nancy Jester, and welcome to Nancy Jester Reports for January 19th, 2018. Happy New Year to everyone. Today is day 751 without a permanent CFO for DeKalb County. I look forward to having the CEO nominate someone, I hope soon. We've gone quite a little while now without one, and we have a great interim, and we're making progress there, but I'm concerned that we keep that progress going with the good work we're doing in the financial department to get things squared away. So, speaking of finances, we met on Tuesday. I didn't do a video on Tuesday. Today, Friday the 19th, we've had a retreat to talk about our legislative agenda, those things that we want to have our legislators go forth and advocate down at the Gold Dome during their legislative session, which has begun. And also, it is budget time. So these books here are our, as I drop things everywhere, these are our budget books for the 2018 budget. I've been reviewing them. We'll be reviewing them in more detail in the Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee. We should have some special called meetings for that. We'll keep you apprised of those. But what I do want to highlight for you, some of the things that we have noted. One, every city in DeKalb County has a millage rate increase. So I have a real problem with that, every single city. Obviously, District 1 is highly municipalized. Only a small portion of my district is not in a city. So the majority of my district will be seeing a millage rate increase, which I oppose. The chief component part of that is an increase in the general fund millage rate. Now, the county as a whole, if you're an unincorporated, you will see an unchanged millage rate. It will remain the same rate that you paid last year. But the rate that you pay this year, if you are in a city, is going up by different amounts depending on the city that you're in. So that's very disappointing for me. What I don't like is that we have a proposal from the administration, from the CEO's office, that raises the general fund millage rate, where I think that's where we have a lot of the discretionary spending that I think we need to curtail, quite frankly, while at the same time it is lowering the police and fire millage rates. I hear time and time again from all constituents throughout and residents throughout the county that they would like to see us invest in our public safety portfolio. No one begrudges paying for police and fire, and we know that we are understaffed from where we want to be in police and fire. Yet, oddly, our administration has made the proposal to lower that actual rate, thereby decreasing the amount of revenue going into those departments. Now, they'll say they're going to increase the police force, but I just will believe it when I see it, because I think any of these increases may only keep up with attrition and certainly are not going to put the number of boots on the ground that we need from a police standpoint to deal with any of the issues that we see in the unincorporated area. So I am disappointed with that, especially when you add into the mix that you are going to have a tax increase with your sales tax. That was voted on. It was overwhelmingly supported. And while on one hand I do support the changing of getting rid of property taxes for sales taxes, I prefer a consumption tax. It's not lost on me that that rate's going up and your millage rate is going up. So you're going to get hit both ways. Another 1% on everything you own, on everything that you purchase, but also outside of food and medication. But and you're going to get a little bit of a property tax credit on that, but your rate is still going up. So that's a real issue. So I think that we need to, as we get through this budget season, I will have a lot of questions about that, and I will certainly be advocating for some changes there. Let me see if I can give you some highlights. I've been going through and reviewing the various proposals of the budget proposals from various departments, and obviously some folks have some increases, some have some decreases. So I've got the administration has some questions to answer there to justify some of the changes there. One of the things, the E911 fund, proposal is down by quite a lot, and that again is a public safety issue. So I have a question about that. I'll give you more details on specific line items in other videos, but I wanted you to know sort of a general overview right now. We'll put some documentation up on the website too. We can put links to the budget so you can see that and ask us any questions. Let's talk about our legislative agenda though now before I sign off here. So that's what we're doing our budget. We'll be having budget hearings, so you'll hear more from me about the details as we go through. I'll expect some budget amendments too, so hopefully we can amend the budget to improve some of these deficiencies that I see and cut down on some of the wasteful spending. So the legislative priorities that we have, we've got several things going on. Let's see here. Let me see if I can go through. Some of which I support, some of which I don't support. We needed to address how vacancies are going to get filled on the Audit Oversight Committee. So we have a fix for that so that the original nominating body that appointed the person to the Audit Oversight Committee gets to reappoint if there's a vacancy. Right now we have a lack of clarity there. We have asked our legislature, our legislative delegation to look at ways that we can manage our right-of-way. Obviously, broadband access and expanding that is a very big deal, and it's a very big legislative issue for rural and metro counties and the telecom industry. But one of the things we're finding is a great deal of our infrastructure is oftentimes broken when you have these companies that come in and they're digging and putting fibers in. We can have significant costs to the county. So we're looking at, what do the bonding requirements look like? Are there any ways to fine for something like that, because that costs you, the taxpayer, in rates and operational costs if we keep having our infrastructure continually broken because of access to right-of-ways that, while good to enhance broadband and fiber, we have to be careful with the other infrastructure there. So we want to create the necessary incentives for that. So that's one of the things. The commission is going to support, and I voted no, asking the legislature to have a moratorium on cities and annexations and all this other stuff. Now, I oppose the legislation in general for a whole host of reasons, but there are a couple of good things in here. I do think the cities and the county need to sit down and discuss ways that annexations should happen so that we can have adequate and optimal service delivery, because we do have some areas where you've got little peninsulas and some places where service delivery from the county into some of these slivers that stick into some of the cities, it doesn't make real sense and it's costly. So I do think we need to talk about what annexation for things like that look like, and if there are other discretionary annexations, what's the process for that, so you don't have islands of residential stranded with no say into, say, zoning and issues that go on in commercial nodes that may have been annexed. So we want to make sure that that proceeds in an orderly fashion. So while I don't support this legislation as a whole, I do support the notion that we need to sit down and talk about that. So that was a component part of that. Commissioner Davis Johnson is an effort to regulate and have stronger regulations about the transport of coal ash through the state of Georgia, and certainly I support safety and health concerns there. So that will be going forward. Let me see what else that we have. There was legislation to ask for the state to repeal the Confederate monument law that said you can't move and change these Confederate monuments. I don't support that. I don't think that's going anywhere, the state legislature, so I think that's a little bit of a waste of our time to propose that and deal with that. We have asked our legislative council to let us know about blight initiatives at the state, so improvements, if there's any tools that we can get from the state to continue to be aggressive and assertive with dealing with blight issues that we find. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of that. We don't have any specific asks. We had some specific asks last year, but we may formulate some things this year as we see what other jurisdictions may be requesting as well. So we'll continue to investigate that. the commission has asked for the authorization to ask for another half-penny sales tax on MARTA. I do oppose that. I think we need to look and see what the state's going to do. I think burdening just 2 counties for this transit system is simply not sustainable. So I think that if we're going to have a transit system, it needs to be we need to have a regional approach to it, and the state needs to get involved. And I think as long as we're continuing to raise taxes here, then the state it's not going to be an incentive for the state to look at it and see how they might get involved. And I do think that there is an effort for the state to look at regional transportation issues, so that may sort of supersede this to begin with, but I didn't support that for those reasons. Let's see. There are some other things we're doing here. Some of the things that we've this whole pension legacy cost issue, which I very much oppose legislation on, which I think is just absolutely inaccurate and a waste of time. I think we're holding that, and we're not putting that forward, thankfully, as a board. So I'm happy with that. We're making some changes, but holding a request for a charter review commission, and we are looking at supporting, but haven't quite gone through all the agenda that the ACCG has, which is the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. So they put forward their legislative priorities, and these are theirs for this particular year. So that's what I have for you today. That's my take on the budget so far and the legislation, the legislative priorities that we're setting and sending to our delegation as they start their session. So I know that's a lot. I will brief you more on budget talks as that progresses. And have a happy 2018. Hope you're doing well after all the cold weather. But I look forward to talking with you soon about more budget issues. Thank you.